Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. It's what we like to call Monday Night Football. All right. All right, guys. Another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm Wiso from FootMex Nation. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football, Mexican soccer. We have a lot to talk about. See what we got on our experts to talk about. We have Mr. Tom Marshall from Guadalajara, ESPN. How's it going, Mr. Tom?
Good, Wiso, yeah. All good.
All good.
Chivas Superliga.
Chivas Superliga. You've had a rough couple of years in Guadalajara, and there you go.
It's been difficult, but I got through it.
You got through it. Right, super leader. Naib Moran in la Ciudad de México. Naib, América not doing so well in the 12 spots. Pero bueno, ¿cómo estás?
Pero bueno, Wiso. Buenas noches, Cesar, Tom, Wiso, and the audience that is watching us. It's Lainez Mania in Mexico City. Diego Lainez Mania over here. 16-year-old kid who debuted last Saturday in Liga MX.
It's our own Christian Pulisic. Mr. Cesar Hernandez in San Diego, Tijuana area. How are you, brother?
Good. Yeah, just obviously still thinking unfortunately about that injury to Lozano, which I saw last week in Tijuana. But, that game ended up being an entertaining one. And, just excited to talk about Liga MX and also talk about these injuries and talk about, what kind of action the disciplinary committee is going to take on these recent happenings over the weekend.
Who knows what the disciplinary action is? Like, there's no real rule book. It feels like, I think Ruiz, I think that's his name, the disciplinary, the top guy in charge just goes, we're going to win 6 games. 1 game for you. It doesn't matter. It's like, it all depends on how it is or how much the team is really forcing him. For example, America really trying to do something on Renato, which I don't think that was an injury. But we'll see where we're going. All right, if you're not on the chats, get to it right now. Saying hi to everybody that's on, from our friend Joel to Adrian Ordóñez, our friend Ivan. Definitely go in there and check out the chat. Ask us some questions. I know Tom, Naib, and Cesar are always looking out and scoping up to see if there's anything on there. So let's go ahead and get started because we have a lot of topics that we can definitely make this show an hour, 2 hours if we really want to, looking at all the news that are happening. Let's go right to it. The controversy that's happening right now in Liga MX. We're not talking about any teams. I mean, I would think that the America fans are mad at Chivas and Chivas. We can just discuss Liga MX football, but we're always trying to, we're always discussing something other than the football. And this week, if it's not violence, it's violence on the field because we saw some very, very important, not that not all the injuries are not important. I get that. But the players, especially started on Friday night with Mr. Chucky Lozano and just horrendous. If you haven't seen that picture, I mean, I think after everyone was sharing it 15 times, it just looked horrible, which apparently the doctor cut in order. I mean, that's not exactly what happened. It wasn't like a hit and it got all big if you haven't seen the picture. But Isaac Brizuela, Renato, it looks like we're seeing these injuries, especially that could affect the national team. But let me go to you, Tom, really quick. Tom, is Liga MX at fault? And the reason why I ask is because there's a lot of people talking about the refs not doing enough. The players still don't have, for example, kind of culpability of, if you're going to do something, I mean, they go at it. What is happening in Liga MX that the topic right now is the refs, the clubs, and the players with all of these injuries that are happening in las faltas that are happening in the game?
I don't know. I mean, when you listen to the programs down here in Mexico and what people are saying, everyone's going absolutely crazy about it. And obviously, you've had 3 big injuries this weekend. With Brizuela, with Lozano, and Ibarra. So I think it's just all come on at one time. But I don't personally think that the Liga MX is a dirty league. I think there's a lot more physical and dirty leagues around the world than the Liga MX. Now, I do think there is a lack of consistency. The quality of the refereeing obviously needs improving. Everybody talks about that. Yeah. And like what you said, we saw before, we need some consistency in terms of the punishment being given out. But for example, Michael Orozco's challenge on Lozano, it was an awful challenge, you know what I mean? But I mean, I think it's just I don't know. I mean, I don't think he went to absolutely hurt him. You know what I mean? I think he leaves his foot in there. But I mean, that's what happens in the game. And I don't think it's just in Mexico, that kind of thing. And obviously, Sambuesa's similar thing. Like, was it dirty? Yeah. Was it like 100% intentional to put the player out for 12 weeks? I don't think so.
I think that's where the question that goes in. I mean, it's interesting to see that these injuries, for example, that are happening to forwards or happening to opposing players that cost, a week, 2 weeks, or, like Brizuela, are happening from people. And I was listening to a show where they were saying that, these sort of injuries come from people that don't know how to take the ball away from someone. Defenders usually take the ball away from someone and they don't make stupid fouls. Like, for example, Sambuesa does not know how to foul. Like, he doesn't know how to take the ball away clean, or he mistimes it. And we've seen it in time and time again that he tries to do what a defender is doing by taking that. But it looks like players that go forward a lot more do not have that training that defenders do. And this is where we see these types of injuries. And it looks like the injuries this week kind of resulted in that. But
I think cutting down on part of those, and let's just say those reckless challenges, is just like Tom said, it's just being consistent from at least from a refereeing perspective, or if there is going to be some sort of match ban on these players, I hope it is consistent, like at least within those three. Just because, I mean, as we saw last week with Tuca getting a 2-match ban and the Veracruz Stadium just getting 1-match ban, I'm a little worried about. I mean, we haven't seen anything yet regarding any potential bans for these players.
6 matches for someone that spit on somebody.
Yeah, so that's my worry, is how the league is going to react to this.
When you look at the plays and how each of them occurred, I think the dirtiest one was, I think, Sambuesa, because he just totally missed the ball. And this is a guy that is a reckless player, in my opinion. Let's not forget that injury he got on. He cost torn ACL on Marc Rosas in a Clásico Joven, and since then Marc Rosas' career has been all confused, now playing in second division over there in Mexico. So I mean, I think here with Sambu, it's repetitive, and it's something, the way that he spoke before the game, bashing on Almeida, it kind of gives you an idea that this guy was trying to make something up, make a statement, and the way that he made a statement was by injuring Isaac Brizuela, who by that moment in the game had been having an amazing match. I think he was bound for a great match against Toluca. The Andres Andrade, I was there in León, and I think that was an accident. It was part of the play. Renato moved away, and it was a confusing play. Really a lot of impetus there by Andrade, but he looks sloppy because he can't defend, like you said, Wiso.
But I think just going quickly back to the Sambuesa one. I agree with you there. He lost it. I mean, it happened 2 minutes after Pulido was put Chivas ahead. So he was obviously kind of like, he was angry. He wanted to react. And I think, for me, Sambuesa is a highly talented player. I know he's getting on now, but it's like you look at his career and you think, why didn't someone like Sambuesa, for me, could have played in the Premier League, like or a good La Liga team. And I think, why has Sambuesa not reached? I mean, I know America fans are going to say, "Oh, he played in." I'm just thinking Johnny Rico now. Johnny Rico's going to he played in the greatest team in the world. But you know what I mean? I think it's that. I think it's that mental thing where he just can't quite control his emotions at crucial times.
Yeah.
And I think that showed in that game against Chivas. I mean, he was booed as soon as his name was read out. He was booed. I mean, the fans were on his back right from the start. And I don't know. I mean, for an experienced player, you don't want to see that reaction. But for me, that's what's held Sambuesa back in his career.
Yeah, Jason that is on the chat on the Mexican Soccer Show chat says, Sambuesa, I'm going to say that he knows how to foul exclusively. And what I was meaning there is that he doesn't know how to foul. Like, you can foul and not take somebody's ankle out and trying to stop somebody with the ball, but going back to it, like I said, for example, Renato Ibarra, I don't think, just like you said, I don't believe that that's a problem, and that's what they have to do. Can't we use that technology of replays for the next day, knowing that the refs can look at it and go, yes, we're gonna go ahead and give you two games, and instead of having teams, for example, say, oh, can you please look at that, and we're gonna do a submit a process to someone to get so they can get suspended. But there's not consistency.
I'd do it in the game. I mean, I know this is a different debate, but I just think, you know, Orozco gets a yellow card, it continues the game. You know, Pachuca eventually got the win there, but, you know, they didn't look like they were going to win for a large part of the game. And I think, you know, it only takes 1 second to look at that replay and think that's a bad tackle, straight red card. There's no gray. It's black and white. He should have been off, and he stayed on. The referee made a mistake. Lozano's now going to miss the Mexico games, which is, you know, really, it's bad for him, bad for El3. And Orozco should have been sent off. So I don't know. We'll see what the FMF come out with.
You go.
Oh, sorry. I would say, like, once again, going back to the whole continuity thing, my big worry is, I mean, Naib talked about, you know, what Sambuesa was saying before the match, talk about Almeida, and obviously, like, I agree that I think that, at least from my perspective, that Sambuesa's foul was the worst of the three, the worst tackle of the three. And then you get someone like Michael Orozco, who it turns out he asked Piojo to be substituted out of the game, and then after the match, he's apologizing, and he specifically said to the press, you know, I wanted to be substituted out, and I apologize to Pachuca, I apologize. And then just taking that in mind, and then just seeing what.
I'm sure Sambuesa said the same thing.
I just wondered from those reactions, like, what kind of reaction FMF is going to have. After the whole thing, I'm worried.
Yeah, the whole thing with Chucky, it was something that was, and not bound to happen, but it's something that could, you know, he got banged up by Saprissa in the Champions League, and he's been the most so far this season. I mean, it's just, he's a magnet, fouls all the time. And this also happens the week after Pereira broke Fabro's nose. So look, and he got 2 games. So it's all about what the referee committee will decide, but they have to be more consistent with the decisions. I don't see it as you know, oh, he's out for 3 months, so I guess the player that committed the foul should be out 3 months. I think that's not how it goes.
Remember when that used to happen? And we'll end with the topic. But do you remember when if you injured a player and they were out, and if it was a deliberate foul that they found that there was a deliberate, and if they're out 3 months, you were out 3 months. I mean, that happens in leagues. You know that. At the same time, I think it would definitely help in the tackling and the problems that would be. I feel it's a little too severe, but who knows. Really quickly, Stante saying that you know they're targeting Sambuesa because, you know, the America thing and the ref, which is kind of laughable. But I mean, you have Sambuesa, you're gonna get the good of Sambuesa and you're gonna get the bad of Sambuesa. What did you expect? I mean, it's typical. We're not even surprised that happened. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Lots and lots of topics before we get into the Chivas Super Leader. I'm sure everyone's waiting to talk about. It's the Chico Diego Lainez. Everyone's going crazy. It's like all of a sudden, I mean, I think I heard his name in a sub-17 before here and there, but then all of a sudden on Wednesday and then Friday, the airport thing, and it looks like we're idolizing somebody else. And but I mean, take that aside, the kid's good. I mean, I'm watching him and the decision that he's making. I mean, there's still a little premature and some you know, towards the end, but 16 years old to take 2-3 guys on wanting the ball kind of reminds me of Jürgen Damm a little bit in the way that he is, how fast he is, but he's great. It's great to see a 16-year-old on the Liga MX, especially with the whole 10-8 rule. Ricardo Lavolpe was asked in ESPN, and, you know, to describe Diego, and he said phenomenal. I mean, the coach is saying phenomenal, and that he shouldn't be in the Mexican league, so he should go to Europe. I mean, when your coach is saying that, and that might be because obviously it's under his wing, and Lavolpe likes to do that. But Naib, go ahead, Tom.
I'll just come in and let Naib come in because I know Naib was in Leon and he watched the game. But it was actually interesting. The Clásico Nacional, Chivas America, went to the under-17s game. You know, to obviously check out who's coming through and stuff. And it was like, I did a little periscope after, and it was like he absolutely stood out from the America side. Like, I know a few of the Chivas players because I go and see a few of the games, but from the America side, it's like this left-footed kid who he's running, he wants the ball all over. He's like he looks like the player who's going to make something happen. So I mean, it was that obvious. But you know, Naib can come in. But the only thing is, I just worry that all this hype and he's played like a few minutes in the league. I mean, I know he's young, but you know, I think we just got to take it step by step. I think give credit to La Volpe. he gets a lot of criticism, La Volpe, but one thing, he will give a youngster a chance, like he did with Andres Guardado as well, another obviously left-footed player.
Yeah. I mean, I think real quick here with Lainez, and so we don't delve that much into him because the season is long, and we'll see how he progresses. I mean, the thing that is maintaining La Volpe's tenure at America afloat is these players, these opportunities. Edson Alvarez, now Diego Lainez. It comes at a critical time in America where you didn't know where the team was heading. I'm not going to say that Diego Lainez is going to refresh and reboot all of America's attack, but he did have an influence in that second half against León. León was dominating in the first half with 10 players. What happens? He takes out Chepe Guerrero, a central defensive midfielder, and puts in Lainez, an attacking player that can play as forward and midfielder. He has a great left foot, I think, and his decisions at 16 are way beyond his years. I mean, the way that he fouled, I forget who he fouled and got a yellow. That was a smart foul, actually, because if he hadn't done that foul, it was going to be 3 against 2.
And the best part is that the León player, I don't remember who it was, pushed him. Right. And, as a kid, 16-year-old, I'm like, oh, no. But he was like, he knew exactly what he did and cool headed. And he kept going, which is a great play, I think.
So building off of what
we have to see.
Building off what Naib said, too, I think this is much needed kind of good news for an America season, which has been kind of so far very underwhelming. And I think this is also building off of a little bit of a recent news that Paul Aguilar, he's training back with the team. It looks like he might actually return soon to America. So this is a good little nugget for America fans to focus on. And if you guys really want to feel old, I mean, you guys make fun of me like every now and then for how young I am, but Lainez was born in the year 2000. A kid who was born in the year 2000 just made his debut for America, which is kind of crazy. That blows my mind.
I agree, though. I think what it's done, I mean, if you just go back a couple of weeks before the Clásico against Cruz Azul, it was the whole kind of tone around Club America was so negative. And I think that victory, now coupled with Lainez and a couple of decent results, is it's almost like, nobody's talking now about La Volpe and is he going to be here in next week? And I mean, nobody's talking about that now. Now it's like, oh, who's this kid Lainez? And they're waiting for him at the airport and stuff. And it's it's kind of crazy because he's only played a few minutes. But I mean, I think it's very Mexican. I know I'm going to be a bit critical here, but I mean, I think it also shows that there aren't that many young players being given the chance. So when you get one 16-year-old, everybody kind of jumps on it like, whoa, amazing. Like, yeah, fair enough. He looks like a really good player, but let's give him a bit of space as well.
No, I mean, you see a lot of 16-year-olds in the Premier League.
The America connection, no?
Yeah, and the American connection, obviously.
Do we see that many, 16-year-olds debut in other leagues a lot?
In other leagues, I'd say not a lot, no. But I think the Premier League's different because it's the world's best or the second best. But I think if you look at the Argentine league or a league on par with the Mexican league, the Portuguese league even, I think it is very much more like they give the young players a chance. But no, it's positive. It's really good.
Yeah, once again, like we talked about, you don't want to overhype him either because they're.
I mean, he's the Mexican Messi. I mean,
just because, regardless of the league, regardless of the Liga MX, how many times have we seen a very young player make his debut? Everyone overhypes him just because of how young he is, and then it ends up fizzing out, and just nothing happens. I mean, obviously, we've seen he's a good player. He's got some potential, but just. This doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to therefore have a successful career because we've seen a lot of young players make their debuts and just nothing ends up happening for their career. Just I don't want to overhype him is what I'm trying to say.
Is he the Mexican Messi?
Yeah, he's basically the Mexican Messi is what I'm trying to say too.
All right. I mean, here's something that I was just kind of doing a little bit. Tell me if you remember any of these players. Víctor Mañón, Martín Galván, Ever Guzmán, Eduardo Regis, Julio Gómez, César Ibáñez, José Guadalupe Garza,
the youngest debut players.
Simón Esteban Almeida, Antonio Pedrosa, Diego Lainez.
Hey, Bruni Pedrosa.
So you hear these names, but where is anyone there that debuted at 16, 17 years old? I mean, I would have to say maybe Julio Gómez is probably the most famous of what he did, but I think he's in the second division.
Yeah.
Ibañez is somewhere, I think maybe at Santos Laguna.
Yeah, but he's had 2 ACL injuries, I think.
Yeah, I think Almeida might be in Chile, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, with Everton, yeah.
Ever Guzman was a sub-17.
But I think
but I mean, no, you're right. It's like, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not easy to make it. I think is the point. Even when you make a debut so early, I mean, there's a long way to go.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. It's I think Chucky Lozano made his debut when he was 17.
I think 17 scored a goal.
Yeah, scored a goal, and you know, take that process of building and make sure it is America, and we're gonna look for this, but don't take him in that sub-17 in the sub-20. He's doing great things.
Yeah. But honestly, I think that another like kind of aspect to this subject is the consistency at coaching level, because obviously La Volpe's picked him out, and La Volpe knows exactly what he wants from his players, and La Volpe's brilliant with these young players. He is very, very good at it. But I mean, if La Volpe's not going to be there in 3-4 months, say Miguel Herrera comes in or something, I doubt Herrera's going to be kind of playing a 16, 17-year-old. He'll probably just buy someone who's in the prime. Because obviously he wants to win stuff. I mean, you look at Cholos. I mean, that's basically there's not many young Mexicans playing regularly there, are there?
It's the Argentine C team, is what I like to call
it. All right, guys. Well, on the chat, whatever happened to Ulises Davila? I think Galván is the Cruz Azul's reserve team. Chofis
he's chilling on the bench in Santos Laguna.
Chofis is a good player. It's people overhyped him for about a week and a half, and then. But you see the difference between a Julio Gomez, who, no disrespect, that kid probably wasn't going to make it. It's like he had all the heart and everything, but then I do see Diego, and I see just his just a different type of player that he is, and hopefully we're able to take him. And yeah, we overhype everything, but that's everybody. It's the U.S. overhypes everyone.
Look, right now we're gonna move to Chivas, and Orbelín Pineda is a great case.
There you go.
Orbelín Pineda came out of nowhere when Ronaldinho was in Querétaro. There was times that Orbelín was a better player than Ronaldinho on the pitch. And
we're better players than Ronaldinho on the pitch now.
No, but still, it happened. And look where he's at now. He's so mature. He's now in Chivas. Chivas is super leader, and he's one of the main players that has helped Chivas reach this point. So it depends all in the mentality. And if Lainez is well in la cabeza, I think he can go far. But it's a long process. It's not easy.
And speaking,
for example, go on.
I was saying, speaking of managerial consistency, that's obviously paid off with Chivas and Almeida. But that's all I was going to say. I was taking over Wiso as host, and it's like doing like a little transition right there.
Stop it. Take my job.
I reckon, like just subject to kind of young players. I mean, I know Lainez has come up, but I mean, I think, and I don't think people have written enough about how has been in that respect in the last I mean, I think that Jorge Sanchez, the right back, I think is nearing the national team. Looks a really, really top player. Artiega, the left back, another really good player. All under 22 years old, these guys. Ulises Riva, Valdo, winger, and then Antuna, who was on the under-20s CONCACAF Championship. So I don't know. I think we've got to give a shout out to Santos Laguna for the work they've done, because they've elevated themselves now to. I'm not saying the level of Pachuca or Chivas now as kind of a major producer of talent, no doubt about it.
Tom, you're cutting in and out of there. I don't know if you mentioned Sandoval too, who's been racking up some assists as well this season. But yeah, no, that's a shout out to Santos Laguna, obviously, for doing that and giving those opportunities.
All right. I mean, it's good to see that, all the youngsters and everyone's going to really ask, can that translate into the national team? And we've seen the Chukis, we've seen the Orbelins. It's hopefully that we can get that. People want to see Cesar Montes. So it's good that we have these generation of players that are coming from these institutions that are really paying attention to these players, like Pachuca, in what's happening. So quoted from La Volpe, he did say, like I said, Diego Lainez, he should be in Europe. So hopefully, you never know what can happen And I mean, I think it'd be good to take step by step and go to these academies in Europe and start training over there if they have that caliber. All right, so let's switch on to the topic that we ran a poll on the Mexican Soccer Show. If you haven't done it, and we said, what do you want us to talk about? First, Liga MX topic, and I think I haven't checked this since the beginning of the show, but it looks like Chivas Super Líder is the topic that everybody wants to talk about. So let's talk. What a turn of events. We were talking about a year and a half. I mean, it feels like it was just a year when Chivas was in the relegation. Now Chivas wins not only the Clásico Tapatío, but has won both of the Clásico Nacionales. Just beaten a team like Toluca, a great team so far in Liga in the Clausura, and now is the Super Líder. Could you ever thought? I mean, what is going on? I usually come up to you, Tom, and tell you what is going on with these Guadalajara teams. You cannot celebrate, but great things happening in Chivas. Almeida and company doing the work, but what a turnaround events. So, Tom, what is it like in Guadalajara, especially that you're there, los diarios, and the newspaper, the people cheering? Are they ready to go? And especially Liguilla talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's excitement. I mean, it's over 10 years now since Chivas won a title. So if you see Chivas at the top of the league, obviously people are, really excited. I think that I don't think it's kind of that complicated to explain. I mean, obviously Chivas over the years have put a lot of money into the youth system. I think there's a good few young players spent money, and I think this is the thing that people haven't, necessarily mentioned that much. Is in quite a few years, Vergara's gone out, already established in the Liga MX that are already kind of the top players in the league. So you got like Pizarro, for me, was brilliant the other day. Pineda, who's just absolute crack. I mean, him playing, I don't know. He's very his development. He's deservedly there, and they've given Almeida the time. They give it, the space team to create this identity. These are the rewards now. And at a time where you've got the 10-8 rule, where you've got more foreign than ever, in first place you've got an all-Mexican team, and I think that strong message out. I think on behalf of Mexican players, on behalf of Mexican talent.
Yeah. And for a bit, you've seen that, this has been building up a little bit. We've seen Chivas playing some exciting soccer, especially in the attack. And as I mentioned earlier, that I think this is Chivas just being rewarded for their patience with Almeida. He could have been gone a long time ago, but they've stuck with him, and it's clearly, it's paying off recently, especially this season. Although over the weekend, they obviously should have gotten a win against a 9-man Toluca. There would have been no excuses right there to not get that win right there. But they're playing exciting soccer. They're doing very well. Even someone like Gaito, who kind of wasn't at his best when he during his first moments with Chivas, but I think this season he's done quite well too, working with Orbelin Pineda, Egan Polido, who scored 2 goals over the weekend. So so there's a lot to be excited about for Chivas.
Naib, a question to you is, Chivas, it's like last week, they're a joke, and then this week, it's funny how like 1 week, and then that's Liga MX for you, because last week it's like, oh my gosh, how can they lose a lead and a 9-man, and it's just like, wow, what a joke. Pulido's not worth the money, only 1 goal, and then all of a sudden, boom, they beat Toluca. Pulido scores 2 goals. But my question to you is, do they have enough? It's going to be the 10th week. They got, it's not like 2 weeks on the liguillas in there, and looking at serious injuries, Cisneros, Chofis, Pereira's out, Brizuela's not out. Do they have enough to make it to the liguilla and win the title, especially with what they have? Because it looks like they're running on players. You have Calderon and Saldívar maybe that can sub in, great players come in, but does Chivas have enough to make it to that final?
I think it's really special, the fact that they brought in Rodolfo Pizarro. I think the guy has 4 goals. If you add Pulido's 3 and also Saldívar has 3, that's 10 goals of Chivas. It's a great offense there, Rodolfo, Alan, and Saldívar. The thing with Pulido is just this is confusing. It has not been easy for Almeida to find ways to accommodate Pulido and Saldívar. he's working on that. I mean, I think that's been one of the specific details that Chivas has been developing in this season. Their defense has been impeccable, because if you think about it, if you take away that bad game in Chiapas, that's 4 goals. So right now Chivas would have only conceded 6 goals. They've conceded 10 goals in the season, but if we take off the Chiapas game, which was horrible, that's 6 goals conceded. That would be the best defense in the league right now, actually. So it does take a little bit about Aris Hernandez, the Chapito also, that have been sort of the unsung heroes, in this process that Almeida has basically built by himself. When Almeida came in, there was a lot of confusion as to where was Chivas heading. Now, the first step was to regain that momentum and put Chivas in the Liga all the time. Now, the next step would be to fight for the title. I mean, the way that Chivas is playing, they're definitely in the Final Four. In the Final Four, anything can happen. The Necaxa was in the Final Four last season. Who knows who's going to be there this season?
Leon.
Leon could probably, because Azul could still probably be in it. So this is how Liga MX works. It changes so dramatically. Right now, Tigres is out of the playoff picture, but wait, Tigres is a team that already has a long process, a lot of experience that perhaps Chivas doesn't have in those key moments, in those clutch moments. And Tigres, that's what makes Tigres dangerous, and we'll see what Chivas, but Chivas is developing that experience, in my opinion.
Well, we'll see. I mean, definitely good to have Chivas and Liderato, especially just the differences of America and Chivas, and it's like we can never have them both at the top. I feel like that's good for the league to have those two teams. One of them is doing bad, and one of them is doing good. Cesar, as a Chivas fan, there's bragging rights, especially with the America, and I mean, people on the chat, jump on this Chivas train. It's not like they're super leaders, like people are saying. I mean, tied with Pachuca on the points. Club Tijuana is at 16 points. Monterrey, who I think is definitely a force to be reckoned with, coming in, finally establishing themselves. But how do you feel as a fan? Taking away that, are you comfortable enough to say, for example, Tigres fan, no, that we're going to make it to the Liguilla and we can possibly win? Has it convinced you? Because a lot of people were asking, who's going to be scoring these goals? Where these goals are going to come from? And hopefully Pulido can show up.
I'm hesitant. It's Liga MX. We're not. It's all about, for me, it's all about the momentum you get at the end of the season heading into the playoffs. So right now I'm still hesitant. This is still, like I said, even we've just sneaked past the halfway point. There's still plenty of time for a lot of teams to sneak in. And especially, I mean, Jason hinted at this before the season started. I feel like this tournament especially, I mean, Liga MX is very unpredictable. But I think especially this season, there seems to be a lot of parity in the league. There doesn't seem to be one big team that's really stepping up above everyone else. Tigres could have been that team. America could have been that team. To an extent, maybe Monterrey. But right now, they're still trying to figure out their confidence. But I think I'm hesitant to even say. I mean, I thought that the Luca was going to win it all, and I still kind of think they are. But it's just there is no one team that I can confidently say that they're going to win the championship. So right now, Chivas, they've got a lot of momentum. They've got even though they had that embarrassing loss 2 weeks ago, I think they're doing quite well. But I know it's tough. I'm hesitant about going all in and saying that they're clearly the title favorites. They're going to be the ones. They're going to be the champions. But there's still a lot of time for stuff to go wrong for them before the end of the season.
I mean, I'd put Tigres, Monterrey, and Pachuca as my top three, and I'd say right behind them there's another group, and America's in there, and I don't know, a couple of others. Maybe Cruz Azul, if they can get a couple of wins. They're actually playing really well. The results haven't come. Well, obviously last weekend they did, but they've not been playing too badly. It's like if the strikers can start scoring, then they're going to win a lot of games. But yeah, I think Chivas are right up there. I just think keep an eye out for Tigres, because last 5 games for Tigres, they've won 3, drawn 2, and only conceded 2 goals. So it just looks like, that CONCACAF Champions League come round, they've kind of just switched on. They're like, right, it's business time. There's trophies at stake now. Let's get going. And they've started to click. Eduardo Vargas is starting to click a bit better. And I think, you got to be playoffs. I'm picking them to be champion because they know how to do it. They've been so well established. Are on the way to that kind of consistency and that playing style. And I think the Chivas squad is actually quite deep now. Brizuela's a massive loss because we saw in that first 30 minutes against Toluca what he's capable of against his old team. But I don't know, Cesar, Toluca, from what I saw then, I mean, I've seen them, other games this season where they've been better, but I was so disappointed in them. I really thought it would be a top game, top of the table class, and I'm like, they look slow. They look like they weren't. I didn't get what they would, their idea. I didn't get what you're watching them live, and I'm like, what are they trying to achieve here? And it's like, it seemed to me like all they were trying to free kicks and like send Paulo da Silva up and stuff like that, and try and get, because Chivas are a small team. I think that's a big weakness. I think defending set pieces, the height is, they're very small. And I think that's Toluca were basically trying to do that. But I'm thinking, a team, they were top of the league before this weekend.
Yeah.
It's
been really tough to defend my decision to that Toluca's going to win the championship.
I said Toluca wins too.
Yeah, but obviously, like picking who's going to win the championship is sometimes such a ridiculous idea, especially in this league. But what I was based that off of before the season started was just because 100-year anniversary, new stadium, Sambu's in there, someone like Gauch's in there. I thought. It's tough to defend that decision at this moment.
Yeah, I think the defeat against Puebla hurt them because I think that sort of cut the confidence a little bit going. Look, in my opinion, we'll see what he does now with the fact that Sambuesa was sent off. That brings in Ervin Trejo, I think, into the fold now again, and I think Trejo had been a fantastic Mexican player. 26-year-old, really, really great on the speed, great on the touch. I think his return into the 11 could potentially, put Toluca's football a little bit of moving forward. It has a couple of good forwards. The Colombian Uribe has been scoring some goals. Barrientos is also. But yeah, I mean, they missed the Liguilla last season in the last fecha. They couldn't get the win against Santos and they were eliminated. So that also has to do with Cristante. And real quick, right now the top 8. Among the top 8 is Chivas, Pachuca, Atlas, Pumas, and Santos. Those are 5 teams that are actually pushing to give minutes to Mexican talent. I don't know if, this is going to stay like this throughout the whole season, but to see it at the halfway point, that these 5 teams are there at the top 8 says a lot, especially in a league where it's with the 10-8 rule and everything. I mean, I think that's a step in the right direction.
I think kind of go off that. Just really I was about to say it's just that we talk about like Toluca, Chivas, and Tom, you're talking about there's like Tigres and Pachuca are up there, but we haven't even talked about really even like Querétaro and Pumas. Those are other 2 like wild cards for teams that can be pushing for a title. Like Querétaro, who's done, even though they had a loss over the weekend, a one-sided loss, they were doing quite well under Jimmy Lozano, and they have Pumas who have Nico Castillo who's doing quite well in the attack. So just really quickly just to touch on that, just that these are 2 other teams that could be pushing for a title this season. But Tom, you're saying
Pumas especially because they this weekend kind of proved a little bit of what's happened, all the goleada that was happening before this weekend, and then Nico Castillo, I think they're on the rise. So I definitely watch out for Pumas because they always surprise you in there. And yeah, Querétaro, that it's like I want to believe in Querétaro every season, and then it's like yes, and as soon as I put all right, cool, yeah, this is a team that they don't. It's like it goes away.
Yeah, I don't think Querétaro. I mean, player for player, I don't. You know what I mean? You compare them to a Monterrey or a Tigres or a Pachuca.
But they've been doing good. That's what I'm saying. Like they get the results. Yeah. They get these results, and then all of a sudden it's like a
team like that, I think, are going to struggle. I mean, I wouldn't pick an Atlas as well. I just think there's a deficit in talent between the top teams and those teams. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I like Pumas though.
Yeah, and real quick, Tom, with Atlas, I think the return of Rafa Marquez, I think is supposed to return this week. They've been getting positive results without him on the field, and I think the return of Marquez could potentially, I'm not going to say that he's a game changer because of the age, but that leadership quality is helpful in a team like Atlas, that has Gustavo Alustiza, that has Fidel Martinez. There is Martin Barragan has been scoring goals, so I think there's some potential there with Atlas as a dark horse, I would say. You know, guys, especially there's games at Estadio Jalisco, they usually don't lose there.
You guys forget about Leon. I'm telling you. It's you guys laugh at me. You laugh at me. But I told you, Leon starts playing after week 8. And in this week, they got a point. Next week, they go against Chiapas. And you're going to start seeing, you saw them play against America, 10-man America. They were dominating throughout that game. Just telling you, they'll sneak into the 8th, 7th spot, and they're going to be a contender again. That's why I was not worried. It's like,
I guess
it happens.
I don't know if this table is updated that I'm looking at right now, but they are technically, I think they're only 6 points behind 8th place.
Yeah, and they're last place. I think they're last place.
Yeah, they are in last place. Yeah, they're in last place.
It doesn't worry me. I said Leon doesn't start playing until the 9th week, and you saw him against America. Here comes the schedule, and it's going to favor. So get ready, because it looks like Boselli finally has switched his footing, so the right leg is the right leg and the left is the left, because I think it's happening. But all right, guys, predicting the league is craziness, and especially in the 8th week, it's even crazy when it's the semifinals of the championship to see who's going to make it. As you can tell, Necaxa is there, and however is that so interesting enough. Let's look at next week on the games that you have to watch. So take a look at it: Veracruz, Puebla, Querétaro, Tijuana, Atlas, Pumas, Tigres, Guadalajara, Pachuca, Morelia, América, Necaxa, Toluca, Cruz Azul, Santos, Monterrey, and Chiapas, León. The game of the weekend is definitely Tigres, Guadalajara. In not only viewership, but I think it's the most exciting to watch. What other games, guys, are kind of there? And before we finish our Liga MX, start thinking about the relegation. Morelia, the Monarcas finally getting a breath of air. But to you guys next week, what's an exciting game for you? If you had to choose 3 games that you could not miss.
I think I'm going to go Monterrey, mate, because I think the Tigres Chivas game is massive. Because I think Chivas are obviously, they want to make a statement, the top of the league now. They're traveling to the, for me, the best team in the league, a team that needs points to make the playoffs. So for me, that's an absolute unmissable. Can't miss that game. Unfortunately, there's 3 other games on at the same time, including America, Necaxa, Pachuca, Morelia, and Atlas Pumas. So again, terrible scheduling by the TV companies, because they're just splitting the ratings there. But yeah, I think Tigres, Alan Pulido just scored 2 goals in the Chivas chat, but he's going back to his old club this weekend, and we talked about Chivas and a title, and I think that Pulido, anything like what he was when he left Tigres for Europe, they've got a really good chance. I think the last few years now, Chivas have missed like an absolute number 9. He's gonna get 4 chances in a game, and he's gonna put 2-3 away. A more clinical finisher. And I think Pulido now, with full of confidence, going back to Tigres, it could be his moment. It could be his moment on Saturday to really hit those the high notes that he did before leaving for Europe.
How many goals does Nico Castillo have?
6.
Yeah.
I think he's got 5, 6.
Yeah,
I think 2 assists too.
Nobody counts.
Phenomenal player. Phenomenal player.
Nobody counts as a leader. It's not like. And then the reason why I'm saying that is because listening to Pulido today, he wants to get to that. It's great to have aspirations like that he wants to get to El Líder de Goleo. And at 3, hopefully keep going. And especially, like you said, Tom, I think the however millions, when are we going to say that it's paid off? Because if you talked about it last week, him scoring 1 goal and the problems that he's had, but these 2 goals, I think that's where it comes. Almeida quoted saying that he's doing things right, that not to get so pressured and go out there. And what we saw is that he's shooting. I think I saw that he wants to score, and he's got that hunger. You're going to see these rachas of players all of a sudden scores 2 goals, 2 more goals, and then obviously it doesn't. So a little low, don't you think, on the Líder de Goleo? With only 5 or 6 turns,
I think it's good. Well, it's usually the average is around 12, no? 12, 13 in the last seasons.
Yeah.
But there's so many people that score. There's so many people that score. And that's what's great about the Liga MX. It's like, you don't have such high because there's so many goals that are scored by so many different ways.
I also think that like, I don't know if it's just this season, but I think there's more teams that are becoming better organized than before. There's some great quotes from Abraham from Pumas, and he said one of the differences between Spain and the Liga MX is like a disorden in the middle of the field, whereas Spain very organized. And but I think we're seeing bit by bit, like, you know, Pumas. I know they lost 3-0 against Tigres the other day in the CONCACAF Champions League, but for the first half they were so well organized, and in the first leg, you know, you look at Santos, also very very well organized, and America even now under La Volpe, you know, I don't know. I think we've seen a slight shift now to teams that are kind of, I don't know, maybe a little bit more willing to sit back. I mean, I don't know what you guys think.
I don't know. It's interesting. That's something I would have to think about too. I mean, not exactly organized defensively, but if I think of another team immediately when I just think of organization, probably just because I saw them last weekend, was someone like Pachuca too.
Yeah,
just how well worked that team is. Like, just seeing them live was just incredible in comparison to Cholos. You would have never guessed that Cholos were the first place team when I saw them last Friday. Like,
and the way Guti played in that game was great. You know, the way that he put the passes to Rata Vizcaya and Franco Jara. And the thing that I was worried about Cholos is that once Guido Rodriguez left, you know, got a knock, you know, Cholos football was awful. You know, there was no distribution. It was really bad in the back, and in the midfield it was all crushed. So I don't know. Without Guido, it's tougher for Piojos, Cholos there. And about the games, you know, America Necaxa will be interesting. Pumas Atlas, and also the cup games. You know, I don't put that much emphasis on the cup games, and we don't put, but that
no one cares.
America, that Cholos America, that León Cruz Azul,
they're gonna be good games.
Those are good games that could help the teams moving forward. You know, because if, for example, Cruz Azul gets a win in León, or León gets a win over Cruz Azul, that gives you a boost of confidence, I think, because you get going into the latter stages of the season, and you want a good rhythm. You know, with America, it's actually really helpful to have these games because they didn't have Edson Alvarez because he was over there in Costa Rica. Paul Aguilar is recuperating from injury. Cecilio Dominguez as well. So you got to integrate those players somehow. And I think this is a great opportunity. You know, Piojo against La Volpe. It's going to be fire over there in Estadio Caliente.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that Wednesday match because there's a lot of excitement building out here for that matchup. Like, you've already seen people lining up on a Monday for Copa MX match to get tickets. They're already lining up.
It's not for Copa.
Lining up to get tickets. These tickets aren't cheap either. These aren't cheap tickets, you know. But like,
how much are they running at? What do you think?
I think if I remember correctly, I might be wrong. Someone's gonna have to double check. But I think for Copa MX match, it's 12. I think it might be $12 if I remember correctly.
That's expensive.
But, yeah, man, those are real. I mean, in comparison,
I'm just thinking of like, I'm like, wow, I thought it was like $60-$70.
No, if I remember correctly. No, in comparison to what they're usually like. But yeah, no, but there's a little bit of excitement. And like Naive said, that's much needed for the Copa MX. It's really, really needed. And like, this is a new format they're doing, so maybe this is a step in the right direction for that format. Not that I want to talk about Copa MX, because as soon as we start talking about Copa MX, everyone just stops caring. I'm sure no one cares in the chat right now. But I think this is good. I think this is good.
Apologies, I didn't mean to sound like an a-hole saying that's expensive. I know the dollar amount and the changing. I was thinking like $70, and she said 12, and that's the first thing.
This isn't a Phoenix Rising game.
Apologies. My bad. I was thinking something else. Anyway, it's like Weasel thinks he's got a lot of money because $12 is not expensive for him in Tijuana. Apologies. Conca Champions also, it's getting a little bit to the time. We finally have the 4 teams. MLS Mexico, you know, the Mexican League. I love that rivalry because it's like Vancouver Whitecaps, Tigres, and FC Dallas Pachuca. So you know, it's those are always exciting, and it's fun because we get to see the Mexican teams not take it seriously until the very last minute, and then the Mexican teams finally win.
I'd be surprised if they don't win these.
Yeah, like, you know.
I really would. And then, I mean, the record speaks for itself, but it's more than that this time. Yeah. I mean, I think these
really good teams. They, you know.
I mean, they're possibly the 2 best, and you look at, you know, the fact they're finding a bit of form, and you think that, you know, Dallas and Vancouver are right up there in MLS as well in terms of, you know, potential winners of the season, but only just getting going this season, you can't see them overcoming Tigres and Pachuca. 2 clubs also that are desperate to get to the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
I think the only team really that has a chance, I think, is FC Dallas. That's the only one, but I can't see them beating Pachuca. I just see those two finalists once again for the 7 of the last 9 tournaments between two Mexican teams.
Really want Tigres to make it. I know Pachuca is great, but I want to see a Tigres team really play in the Club World Cup. I know that it's not a real tournament.
I want to see Conejo retire in the Club World Cup.
No, I want to see Gignac in the Club World Cup. I want to see, Tuca Ferretti in the Club World Cup. Like, let's win a tournament.
I wanted Gignac, but now that Naiv's said, put that idea, that image of Conejo in the Club World Cup, I want that now.
All right, what other is happening? Mexicans abroad. 5 goals for our Mexicans abroad. And yes, I am including Mr. Cubo Torres, the scored at FC Dallas finally. In that,
he was excited after that goal, man. Well deserved, yeah.
In that, but the big story: Hector Moreno scoring 2 goals, Layun scoring a goal. But Cesar, you are our Mexicans abroad correspondent for the Mexican Soccer Show. Give us a little roundup. We don't have that much time, but
of course,
at least on what's happening, with our Mexicans abroad, and at least some updates.
Yeah, so I'll quickly go on just on the highlights, not all of them, but just Hector Moreno got the 2 goals. That's his second time for PSV that he scored twice in a game, which is incredible. Guardado included the assist for the goal. That was a 4-0 win for them. Miguel Layun got a goal for Porto, but literally almost everyone in that Porto roster got a goal. They won 7-0. So, but it's good. That's good for Layun.
Tecatito and Hector Herrera were not playing. They're injured.
They're recovering from injuries. We saw that awful image of Hector Herrera after the Champions League match from last week, and Tecatito has had some muscle issues. So this is obviously very important for Miguel Layun because all the injury problems he had. I know he didn't have a very good game in January. He was highly criticized for that. So this is good. This is a good build up for him. And then I think the other big thing to talk about is the fact that Chicharito now has a new coach after the 6-2 loss to Borussia Dortmund. Bayer Leverkusen now have, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, it's Typhoon Korkut. I think it's Typhoon Korkut.
I don't think it is.
Tom, all right, Tom, you pronounce it. Tom, let's hear you pronounce it then.
It's Typhoon Korkut.
It's Typhoon.
No. When all else fails, just pronounce it in Spanish, and you're a lot better. Typhoon Korkut. That's it.
Typhoon Korkut. But yeah, he's a German-born.
He's German. Typhoon.
He's German-born, but he played for the Turkish national team.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. He did. I know I have a limited amount of knowledge for Typhoon. I love saying the name Typhoon, by the way. But he played 3 seasons in La Liga, so hopefully he knows a little bit of Spanish, and I hope that there's some sort of connection there with Chicharito that he can make.
He just knows English. That's all he speaks.
Yeah, but I think he'd be a little bit better.
It's always news because we've seen this in Chicharito. If you look at what happened in Manchester United, where one coach knows what he can do, and another coach doesn't know. Comes in and just sends him to the bench. You have to really believe and trust Chicharito and give him the minutes, and in order for him to feel good, for him to score. So hopefully, we'll see. Obviously, for Bayer Leverkusen, which we're always in love with that coach and what has taken them to champions, but now losing in that very important game, 6 goals, which I thought it was a surprise. I don't follow it as much as I want to, but seeing that the news come out on Sunday we'll see how it goes. I would think that obviously Chicharito is the scorer and what he's had, especially in El Racha in the games, recent games. Hopefully it doesn't impact his level of play, or at least his time of play. So we'll see what's out. Anything else? Memo Ochoa or Raul Jimenez?
I mean, you got Raul Jimenez on the bench. I mean, Benfica's been doing awesome, and because Betroglu's been dope, like with his goal scoring, there's no way that Jimenez will be getting in that starting 11 anytime soon.
Playing Dortmund this week, right, Cesar?
Oh, that's right. They do have a on Wednesday. That's right. They'll have that Champions League match Wednesday so maybe we'll see some minutes for Jimenez. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Other stuff, Ochoa's team lost 1-0. I mean, like usual, just Granada was just parking the bus, hoping for a 0-0, and there's little that Ochoa could have done there. Salcedo's back on the bench for Fiorentina. Let's see, Vela. He's been he had a decent game. Didn't finish with a goal or assist for Real Sociedad, but I think the big thing for them is the fact that they're pushing for a Champions League spot and that he's a key figure in that roster in a team that's pushing for that Champions League spot. So I think that's important. And there was a battle between Jonathan Dos Santos and Diego Reyes in the Villarreal versus Espanyol match. Jonathan was a sub in the second half.
Diego Reyes was playing.
And Reyes, what was that?
He's playing. He's starting in
yeah, so. Most definitely. And it's important for, and even though Reyes, his team lost, I think the big thing, especially heading into these World Cup qualifying matches, is the fact that Reyes is getting regular minutes, very regular minutes in a decent La Liga side.
Well, what we've seen with Diego Reyes is that when he gets the regular minutes, but then he screws up like badly in these regular minutes. And I haven't heard if we don't hear Diego Reyes in the news, it's good. Because normally what we've seen is Diego Reyes with just a horrible mistake or let two of them go by. But I haven't heard anything. I know he's getting the minutes, but I haven't heard anything else. That's good on a defender in my case, unless you're scoring goals. Hector Moreno. The other news before we leave, Giovanni Dos Santos starting MLS. So it's with the big weekend debut in MLS. Looks like it was everywhere. And Giovanni Dos Santos, going in, taking the PK at the Pride. He is the guy, that everyone's looking for. No more Robbie Keane. No more. Not that Diamond was a big part. Gerard. That I'm glad that he's taken that. I feel that he needs to have that MVP season in LA Galaxy, and it's fun to see. At least he's scoring, even though his team lost against FC Dallas. But get those minutes. Our very own Amy was there and got a chance to interview Giovanni Dos Santos. You should see the text that she sent me, and I'm not gonna show you, but I'm gonna tell you what she said, and she'll probably get mad at me. But she's like Gio was staring into my eyes, and I got lost into that stare that she said. Very, very nervous, but got a chance to interview him. Check out that on FootMex Nation, and she'll be following along the Geo watch, as she likes to call it. But other than Cubo Torres scoring, anything else on the Mexicans abroad?
Real quick, on a point. I know Tom published an article about Osorio's trip to Europe, which I think was quite extensive. I think it was like 3 weeks over there. What were the conclusions that you saw, Tom, that might have been interesting? Because I think it's really important. This trip is really important because there's going to be a busy weeks ahead.
No, yeah, I think that, apart from the Mexican players, he went to see San Pauli. So I think he went to, Juan Malillo and San Pauli's training sessions. It just shows you what type of person Osorio is. He'll be genuinely excited about the team, which is obviously doing massive things in La Liga. Marco Fabian's not going to be in the next call-up. I think he's going to be back in 2 weeks. So, at least it's positive news. At least we've now got a date, because that back injury was it was really worrying for time. He said he couldn't even get up to kind of get dressed himself. So happy that that's sorted out.
He's naked all of a sudden. I'm not going to get dressed today.
Yeah. Chicharito, Osorio said, he seems to have had some off-field distractions, but he's now seemed very focused. Obviously, there's a lot of press about him splitting up with his girlfriend and all that kind of thing. So,
he started scoring.
He started scoring.
He splits up with a girl, and here we go. He's scoring left and right.
I tell you what, the interesting thing about Chicharito as well. We know about all the MLS interest, and we know his contract runs out in 2018. But I'm just wondering now, with this new manager coming in, if it doesn't work out, if Leverkusen do want to cash in this summer, then I think it opens the door slightly, especially if Leverkusen aren't in the European. I really think if Leverkusen are finish 7th, 8th, not even in the Europa League, they've got a manager Chicharito don't really get on with. Let's see. This is the negative. This is the negative side, but yeah. Apart from that, Osorio with what he saw over there in Europe from the Mexican players.
Yeah. Chicharito's going to go and do the last league that he gets so he can put it on the notch in his belt. He's going to go to France, and he's going to play for PSG. He wants to do the 4 big leagues, maybe go to Italy, then he'll come to MLS. I'm just saying.
This will be great. Now I'll have an excuse to use PSG on FIFA. That'll be great. I've never put PSG.
Could you see it? All of a sudden after this summer, Chicharito, PSG. Okay. Yeah. That's... But big news, especially after 2018, what he'll be doing. So many people are saying, MLS, especially with that LA team that's coming. So interesting enough. All right. Any other topics, guys? We had a lot of topics to discuss. The U20s, when we were talking about it, the U.S. winning the very first time in the U20s was a big news. Lots of. I know Naib and I had a great discussion on the last Mexican soccer show, so stay tuned. Can under 17 players play in the U20s?
Yeah, they meet the age.
Yeah. So
there's no reason why.
Yeah, I mean they're under 20. I mean
one
anyone,
of the
right?
standouts for El Tri in that tournament, Antuna, he made his league debut this weekend. Was it this weekend against Pumas?
Yeah.
So it was Antuna, it was Ronaldo Cisneros. It was basically Santos's youngsters who really carried the team over there in Costa Rica. But we'll have to see what happens. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if the team improves in this U20 World Cup, because the last two has been really it hasn't been quite amazing to watch.
Yeah.
And then lastly, guys, some news that came out: Mexico versus Croatia in LA, and then Mexico versus Ireland in New York, New Jersey. Good. I would think those are games right before the Hex, right before U.S. and Honduras, and then going into the Confederations Cup. Croatia, especially if it's a FIFA date, which I think would, hopefully bring all the stars and the caliber that a Croatian team comes in, kind of a revenge for Croatia and what happened in 2014. But great friendlies. Molero isn't trending, you hear these
these are decent opponents. I like these opponents. I think it's an
we couldn't even beat Iceland. So I mean, barely beat Iceland. That was a good opponent for us. So I'm down with it. I think it's gonna be great. A little plug really quick. Any of the tickets, definitely visit Pancho Villa's Army, our friends at Pancho Villa's Army. Go, you have to do it. So I know they already have tickets available for the Croatia game, and big tickets for any of the Mexico-US game coming up in June, which we're going to give you guys, I think, $50 off if you use our code at the Mexican Soccer Show Food Mex Nation. So keep an eye on that. But good. Lots happening. I think it's 20 days before the game Mexico versus Costa Rica, so we should already start seeing maybe some of those clubs filter out who's going to be there, who got in la convocatoria. Will Memo Ochoa be there? He is playing. He's getting a lot of goals, so I think it'll be interesting to see. Carlos Vela, Guardado, I think the usuals, but those that are on the line. I was just thinking also too, Michael Fabian. I mean, the injury that he has, devastating too, especially with the problems he has in his back, apparently. So, what a turnaround of events. All right, guys. We definitely went over the hour, but lots and lots of topics. I think interesting. Liga MX is getting exciting. That Chivas and Tigres game, I think, is going to be amazing. I think one of the best games that we'll see this season, especially of the way that it's coming up with Chivas and then Tigres. But all right. Thanks to everybody on the chat, friends of the Mexican Soccer Show. Obviously, Ivan and saying hi to my good friend John Jago, who I've known him for a very long time, is on, and also obviously our friend Joel that's on there. So guys, great week with champions, with Copa MX, Conca Champions coming up, Copa MX, La Liga MX, Mexico. It's going to be a big month of March.
March Madness.
March Madness.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe Villanova can now. You still have 20 years? When was the last time? The 80s when
back
Villanova
to back.
was?
Watch out, y'all.
Yeah. But interesting to see. All right, guys. We'll give it to Mr. Cesar to close us off for today. Go for it, brother.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone. I don't know what to say now. You put me on the spot. But it was good chatting with all of you, and we'll see you next Monday for our next episode of the Mexican Soccer Show.
There it is.